Hello everyone, welcome back to the Tabletop and Hobby Stop. My name is Michael, and I'm not saying I'm the biggest Green Lantern fan, but I think I definitely hit the leaderboards on this one. And when I was browsing the Night Models DC Miniatures Universe game, I came across a couple of new sets that just dropped recently. The Sinestro Corps set, they have a Green Lantern Corps, and then they have a Display Sinestro, Display Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and they also have a Saint Walker that just dropped last month. I knew that I had to pick them up, and since you guys were such a big fan of my first look at the Skibor miniatures pre-cleanup, I thought that I would do that with these guys so you guys could take a look at them. I think it's a new plastic formula they got going, so I'm excited to show you. Let's get on to it. Alright guys, we're going to kick it off with some timestamps. You can jump right to what you're interested in. If you're not interested in the whole video, at 9:02 we are taking a look at the new plastic. I would definitely see what these guys have to offer. It is a new formula. It's awesome. So timestamps up there for you if you're interested. Alright, so on top of all of the lanterns I ordered, I also ordered Zod here and Black Adam. These guys released the same time Saint Walker did, and I love the presence that these models had, so I picked them up. I have a decent amount of Superman villains. This guy is going to make a really nice addition. And then Black Adam. I already have a Black Adam, but this one looks so good I really wanted to paint him up. So this guy's completely because of the crispness of the sculpt. I loved how it looked, and I had to paint him. So I'm pumped to do him as well. So you guys get a little bonus in this video. And then we have Saint Walker. This guy needs his own core. The elephant guy that always hangs out with him would be really cool if they release alongside. I have not looked at the character card because the small packs like this do not come with the character card in it anymore. And Saint Walker is one of the smaller ones. He had all of his parts. He's a fairly dynamic pose, so he had all of his parts separated. He's one that you're gonna have to glue together a decent amount, but these models go together pretty easy, so not a big deal. Next we have the Sinestro Corps. This comes in the box with kind of the core members you'll see from the Sinestro Corps. They also have Mongol. I'm not sure if they still offer him. I have him and my son loves to use him, but he will actually tie right along in with these guys for the game. So you can see there's a decent amount of cleanup. You guys can see there's just a lot of little bits to cut off the top of that there, and you know, just with these night models, they are really fine sculpts, but they also have a decent amount of cleanup, and not too often, but every now and again I'll get some pretty big layer shift where you'll get a big old line down the side of them. These ones weren't too bad, except for one that we'll be talking about later. You guys can see with the new plastic, they didn't lose any of the definition. This is Romat Rue, and then here's Lysa Drake. Got that big old piece of sprue hanging off there. You guys are going to want a sharp blade to clean these guys up. Becca. You can see in between the legs there, that's a whole piece I had to cut out. The top of every hand has a bit of sprue on it, and then also the helmet. Arkillo, the bottom of his jaw was missing some teeth, it looked like. Not a huge deal. The tongue kind of goes over it. And then here on Lysa, or Lisa, you can see they have the 2 head options. I went with the cloak. Later on, you'll see that. For Sinestro, there's this card. He was a little bit cleaner than the other ones. Very crisp base, very crisp display base as well. I don't think I had to do any cleanup that I remember. I just magnetized it. You'll see that later as well. And these guys do fit together nicely. You probably can't see it, but there's the 2 little foot slots down there. This fits right in. Now there's that sprue coming out of the top of his hair. That's always a little bit annoying, but not a huge deal. And then it looks like the mold got a little thin there. But overall, very nice sculpt. Oh, and on this guy, before I forget, I did have to drill out his arm a bit. Alright, now here's your lanterns. You got all the main guys except for, well, there's a lot more lanterns. They had to kind of pick, but I would have liked to have seen John Stewart. He's a very, very integral Green Lantern, being that he is a lot of people's favorites from the old Justice League Unlimited cartoon. There's your Guy Gardner. Slack came actually, his sprue was very clean. Kilowog was fairly easy to clean up with the exception of the layer shift that we'll talk about later. Actually got 2 of these in the box. I like that they have the tail separate for Chip, and I'm half tempted sometimes to paint these guys right up on those sprues like that and then glue them together, because a lot of times they put the sprue excess on the part where you would be gluing it anyways. Had to clean up the foot to get that foot to fit in the base correctly. Wasn't too much work. And the Brightest Day Hal Jordan. Or Brightest Light. Excuse me. These crystals all go in the base. The lantern there attaches right onto them. I did do a little bit of work on the lantern. You'll get to see that later. He fit together really nice. Not terribly too much cleanup. I wish I would not have glued this middle piece in, because I rather glue him or magnetize that middle piece to get him in a smaller base. So these guys are not the lanterns we will be talking about. There is this one here, St. Walker, a blue lantern, but these guys I am putting up just so you guys could see the other figures that I got. We have General Zod here. The camera to focus. And then we have Black Adam. And then over here is St. Walker. You'll see him come around. Now I said they have a new plastic, and I was correct. The last plastic was a little bit brittle. This plastic, I have just a little cut off of the sprue here. Let's get that to focus. Sorry about that, guys. So I have a little sprue cut off here. And this is super bendable plastic. As you guys can see, this is I'm wrenching on this pretty hard. I mean, you can rip it, but I can even fold it in half there. There's a little bend, but it's not breaking. I did notice that when you scrape on this, I was cleaning up the mold lines. If you scrape on this, it does... Oh, that's cutting. I'm trying to scrape. Probably use the back of the blade here. When you try to scrape the mold lines off, it doesn't come off how you like it to. And then it also tears the plastic up a little bit, if you guys could. Alright, so you can see it more so burrs up the plastic when you try to scrape it off. And I had that issue with General Zod's cape here. I wanted to keep this. I didn't finish cleaning this up because I wanted to show you guys. You actually have to take the blade and cut that stuff off, or else it's going to be a little ugly for you. But like I said, the last plastic was very brittle, so I prefer this because these are very thin models. In fact, they accidentally sent me an extra for Guy Gardner's leg and power things on his base, and you can see, you can crunch that right down, it comes right back up. This is much more bendable. Has a greater tolerance. I don't feel like I need to worry as much about dropping these off of the table. I have shattered a night model of mine, and that's super frustrating because these guys are not cheap. However, this, I can drop this and it's not going to break at the ankles like the old plastic will. It is also a little softer, so if you need to, you can drill. I did drill a few things. You can drill into these. However, since it is a softer plastic, you have to be aware of the sides getting kind of pushed out or bowed out when you are drilling. So, for instance, you'll see later on the rings on Sinestro's base, I tried to drill out where the finger holes would be, and those got a little bit messed up while I was trying to drill those. As far as the cleanup on these guys went, let me bring the focus back up here. The cleanup was not bad once I figured this out. It was driving me crazy because normally you can take the back of the blade and scrape the mold lines. This one, you're going to want to carefully cut the mold lines. In Kilowog, there was a little bit of mold shift and the mold lines were pretty hefty. There is a very, very small mold line that I'm not going to bother getting on St. Walker's face here. However, these guys actually cleaned up fairly well. I am going to be taking some green stuff and doing some gap filling. Right here, you can see here, and then also a lot of these leg joints where the one half of the leg meets the other, basically his butt, needs a little bit of gap filling. This one's not so bad. This one came together. I might not even bother with him, but you'll see a couple of models later on. They also got a little bit more strategic about where they are placing the molds, because I have a few of these guys where I had to cut across the face in the old set, and St. Walker's the only one that had the mold coming out where I had to cut into the chin here. So overall, the plastic I am very happy with the change that they made. Before we move on real quick, I'll just show you guys a quick little close-up turn of these guys, because this is super impressive. I'm going to try to take a little bit of artistic liberty in the chest area here and maybe do some lightning bolts. I haven't totally decided, but you see that's what they have on the packaging here. And with these DC models, I tend to spend a little bit more time than some of my other paint jobs, just getting them little over what I would consider table ready. And this is General Zod again. Very, very cool table presence on this model. I like the flowing capes and the big shoulders. Very, very impressive sculpt job on these. And then Saint Walker. Give him his own little turn here. Like I said, there's a couple of things on the base I want to use some green stuff to clean up. Just this right here and this right here. Assembly on these guys went pretty easy. And now we'll go over to the Sinestro Corps. Alright, first up here is Lisa Drake. This is the Sinestro Corps. Comes with Lisa Drake, Romat Rue, Becca, and then Arkillo. And then right here is my Sinestro big model that I ordered. So we will take a look at, since he's right here, we'll take a look at Romat. This guy, there is one of these types of guys in the Green Lantern Corps called Tumar 2, and then his son, or one of them's the son, one of them's the father, Tumar 2 and Tumar Rat, I believe. Very cool. I like the definition. That's going to paint up really nice. Do the yellow and then the transition to black. Little bit skinnier, as you can see in the legs, which is why that new plastic really makes me more confident having these guys out on the table. Also, the Night Models bases do come with a little 5mm magnet slot on the bottom here, and I love my magnets. I started doing that recently, and I was super pumped when I saw, right here's a little piece of steel, and that helps me with my storage of these guys, especially the more brittle older models. You can see what I was talking about on the back of the model where that leg connects. There's just a little bit of separation. And then we'll go to Lisa Drake, or Lisa Drake, however you want to pronounce it. She was a little bit more fiddly to put together because you had to connect the chain up to the hand. She did have a choice between hood or no hood, and then these arms were both separate, and they did them right in the middle of the bicep, which I am not a huge fan of. I wish they would have done it right there. I think anytime you can get a joint that meets not on skin is for the best. That's a mold line that's kind of hard to get. I wish I would have noticed it before I put the cape on. Need to do a little bit more to get her up to snuff. I had to do some annoying cleanup on the toes here. But still a very cool model. Looking forward to painting all of these guys up. Next we will go to Becca. You can see a lot of fine details on these models. And that is why I am such a big fan, even though you pay a little bit more for them. I'm a big fan of the Knight models, but my main issue was how brittle they were. But now, no issues. That problem for me is solved. I feel much more confident purchasing these models. And then the main man Archillo. Had a little bit of cleanup to do on the tongue. This is not a mold line. That is actual part of the skin sculpt. However, if you look at the chin, he is missing a couple of bottom teeth. And then also on this finger, he's missing a couple of claws. I'm still deciding whether I'm going to do the green stuff to get those claws on there. But he has a nice table presence. I think that he's going to look really good. I think all these guys are going to look really good together. You even have the veins. You can give some detailing to that. Little bit of gap filling. I had to do a little bit of cutting to make this one fit nicely without having major gaps. But not the most major issues there. A little bit of gap filling up there. And you guys will see this when I do my Sinestro Corps painting video. And then the main man, the boss of bosses, Mr. Egocentric himself, Sinestro, and this is the Lord of Fear model. I'm pretty sure that is where the mold got a little thin. So I'm going to have to take some green stuff in there. And then that is where I tried to drill out the holes. A couple of these got shifted while I was trying to drill them. But the cool thing about this guy is he came with two bases. One kind of, and I drop him. You see what happened here. He came with this kind of display base. And then also he came with a smaller base, which I just did some magnets in. I'm going to do a little bit of texture paste around to try to give him a little cove to sit in. But you get both. Normally I don't like playing with these display models because they're so big. But this guy, you can take him out of the display and put him into the base itself. So I really like that. I loved all the lantern rings on his base, and also there's a few on Archillo's. His were sculpted with little divots in there, so I can put a nice black wash in there, or a dark green, mix some black and green. Looking good. I'm super pumped to get him painted up. I think Sinestro's got to be one of my top super villains. And here we have the Green Lantern Corps, starting with Orisa, Kilowog, Salak, Guy Gardner, and this one is Chip, not Badge. And then in the middle I have the Brightest Day, Hal Jordan. He does not have the additional base for play purposes. However, he does have a little cove here where it makes me feel like I could work something up with a smaller base, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, we will start with Orisa, or Orisia, however you want to pronounce it. And here she is. She has a lot of skin showing, so she's got the same problem as a lot of models with skin you have to clean up. Her knee is where the mold was, so I think I still have a little bit of cleanup to do on her there. But solid looking model, good detail on there. The hair, I believe, is where they clipped it for this, and then in the elbow. But right here you have the shoulder joint, is where you get the connection. This was a little bit off. Still want to gap fill that a bit. Let me see if I can get the camera right here. Still want to gap fill that a little bit. But I think she looks great. There's also this. I wasn't sure if that was intentional. It didn't look like it from the picture, so I might gap fill that little triangle there. Now we'll grab Guy Gardner. I really wish this was John Stewart. John Stewart is my second favorite, right after Hal Jordan. Goes John Stewart, then Kilowog, then Selak, then about everyone else, and then Guy Gardner. I don't know if he's going to see too much table time for me personally. However, he is a very cool looking model. And like I said, we have that new plastic. And we have to gap fill. His is one of the worst on the back here. Have to gap fill right where his back meets kind of where the tailbone would be. I think he's still going to be fun to paint up. Maybe if I play my buddy, who is a big Guy Gardner fan, he'll get some use. I just never really cared for Guy Gardner. I think the temper thing was overplayed. I think he's a little bit too brash. But, you know, that's who he is. Now, let's go with Chip. Chip is a really fun model. I like him. I think my son will probably play him a whole lot whenever he is the good guys. He'll probably always have Chip on the table because he loves Chip. And he did have a little bit of cleanup on the ear, but that big floofy tail does come separate, so if you wanted to paint that and then stick it in to avoid having to paint inside that little gap there, I think that'd probably be the smart way to do it. But I wanted to put these guys together for the video here. Putting on the heads was kind of difficult for a lot of these guys. Like Sinestro, his head wanted to pop off a couple of times. Now we'll go with Selak, the secretary of the Green Lanterns. He is one of my favorite sculpts, I think, of this group because he is unique. He's kind of in an aggressive pose, and then four-armed aliens are always cool. He went together surprisingly easy for having to attach the two arms underneath here. I thought he'd be a little bit more difficult, but it worked out really well. And that is Selak. Get to do some fancy stuff with the weapons, I'm sure. Sure, I'll work something up. And Kilowog. I would really like to get a word bubble here. Saying something about Yapuza would be. That is his term for calling people chumps, basically, as he calls them poozers. And this guy went together easier than I think everyone else on the board. He just kind of set this in, put him in here, and bing, bang, boom, done. But there was the big mold line separation I was telling you guys about right there, and you might be able to see a bit right there. And then his ear had, which one was it? had a big chunk, and since this is a small, delicate here, I'm glad I did him like 3rd or 4th so I could get used to this plastic. But I am probably going to be fielding these Green Lanterns quite a bit. And last but certainly not least is the Brightest Day Hal Jordan. What I did here, this was actually filled in. I cut out the filled in part, like from the handle to the inside was a flat plastic thing. I took a little bit of extra effort. I cut it out. You can see I still have to do a little bit of cleanup on that. He went together pretty easy, pretty nice. Everything fit together well. Honestly, the crystals were the most annoying thing, and they were this one right here, but they were easy to put in as well. So you can see he's got some rings on his base as well. And what I was talking about, I glued it in, but I can crack it out if I want to. This comes separate from this. So if I were thinking, I would have left this separate and potentially steal a small base or a medium-sized base, kind of like what Sinestro has, and have him able to be on a smaller base. However, I do already have a Hal Jordan to play with, so I might just use him and keep this guy on the display shelves, because I'm going to take my time and paint him up real pretty like. Alright. And that is the set, guys. Let me know what you think. I will be painting these up very soon to get out to you. Might take a couple of weeks with editing and actually getting them all painted. I think I'm going to do it batch painting style. 2 videos, one for the Sinestro Corps and one for the Green Lantern Corps. If you like this video, go ahead and smack the like button. Hit subscribe if you feel so inclined. And I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for joining me.